Hello, hello everyone. Happy Friday. It's our day with Thorne Davis, where we talk about anything connected to astrology, what's happening now, the kind of forecast. So we're gonna start with Thorne has some things they want to talk about. So what's up? All right, okay, what's up? Let's see. So our week forecast is what's up. Okay, so let's see. I forgot to add captions, so hold on one sec. Okay. Good. Okay. All right. So now we can go ahead. Okay. So, first off, tomorrow is the full moon. And so, it's a Libra moon. And right now the moon's in Libra. And so far, the past 3 days, we've already been feeling that moon coming. So typically, there's 3 days before the actual full moon, and then 3 days after in that week that we feel that energy movement, with the full moon. So tomorrow, the full moon is actually happening and in Libra. So, the themes related with that are, what do we got? We got relationships, connection, partnership, collaboration, all of those things, those types of things will pop up and different perspectives of, balance. Am I giving too much? Am I needing to receive too much? Uh, which is a benefit or a positive thing, and maybe where do I need to disconnect? So things like that, those kinds of thoughts and feelings might be coming up. Um, and so it allows that movement through and working with it. So, and then not only is that happening, but also tomorrow the sun will be Kazemi with Chiron. So, and what does that mean? That means Kazemi is like we talked about previously. Kazemi means that when there's a planet that will move over the sun, it will look like they're kissing, basically. It's like kissing the sun. So anyway, a Chiron, that energy, what is that all about? Is connected to internal trauma and grief and pain and triggers and if things that aren't fully resolved or patterns that have been going on that haven't been broken, so all those things. um but the sun and Chiron coming together means it's a good opportunity to really look inside and say, where can you shine more? How can you heal yourself, your self-worth, and be seen and allow yourself to take up more space and kind of come out and live and shine more? So I think that will be related to that, or an internal self-truth of, my authentic self. How can I grow more in that kind of thing? So, and then Sunday, we'll have Venus uh, direct station. And it's not going to go direct yet, but it'll be stopped finally because before it was for 8 weeks about its Venus has been going retrograde. And so now finally it's stopped, it's direct, it's stationing direct. And that's like a pause of where, we can evaluate where our Venus things have been in the process and get releasing things and analyzing things and doing self-analysis and see how they interact and how uh we can understand where connections are happening now. So the full moon in Libra and then the Venus going station is a beautiful time of where how there's connections can happen, more balance, more clarity, more integration, things like that. So, and also with any planets that are stuck, stationed direct after the retrograde, then it allows that time to, it's a good 2 weeks for more forward motion. Uh, so, change, transitioning to go forward. So yeah, that's a thing. And so that's just a mini forecast, just putting that out there. So if you want to add anything with that, Andy, yeah, hold on. I was looking for my paper with the keywords for the signs. Um, Darn it, I can't find it. Because I wanted to read the keywords for Aries and Libra and see the benefits of it. But I'll just discuss it myself. So I think the sun in Aries is part of the full moon because the sun is in Aries and it's opposite the Libra moon. So there's two opposite tendencies happening at the same time, right? Aries wants to go its own way. It's like I can do it myself. The sun's in Aries or the sun's in Aries now, so people are kind of like doing things themselves and saying like I'd prefer to go alone and be my authentic self than, collaborate or partner up or whatever. But then the Libra moon is wanting to partner up. It's an opposite tendency. So I think the full moon is kind of this point where we say, do I go my own way? Or where do I go my own way? And where do I partner up? Where do I compromise or make a win-win is a better way to look at that. Where do I, connect and, hash things out, rather than go my own way. So I think in relationships of all different kinds, it's time to really it's kind of a boundaries time because you're like, no thanks on relating now. I'm gonna do that myself. But then where do I, connect with who you know, and you have to look at the houses in your chart because it's two opposite houses, right? Thorne saying. So, so like if it's your 11th and 5th house, you have to look at your creative arts and, the where do you do your own thing and where do you go with your crowd or like, but or it could be like, working with people in art, that would be fifth house, whereas, you know, Aries on 11 would be going your own way in the crowd, like going solo or something, but it really depends on the houses because if it's 2-8, then it would be a money thing. And if it's 3-9, then it would be maybe in education or teaching or learning or something like that. So really apply these themes to your own birth chart and say, how does it affect um my own perception, my own experience? Thorne saying, I also want to add with that, not only is it's the birth chart, where it's set down, but also the transits, that transit chart overlays on there too. So where that house is in the birth chart, and then where that transit is laying over, and you have to look at it and you say, there's a different layers and perspectives. And how they can both be integrated. So that's kind of cool. So what degree is the full moon at? Let me find it. My good ephemeris. Hold on. See the moon. Okay, today, moon. Let's see. Seems as at 29 degrees, I think. 29 degrees. 29 degrees. Well, the sun is at today, the sun's at 21 degrees Aries. 21 Aries. Hold on, let me look. Yeah. So the sun's at 22 Aries and the moon will hit it in, 1 day from now. So it'll be about 23 Aries Libra. Okay, okay. So look at your chart and see where or what you have at 23 degrees Libra, Aries, whatever. And if it's really hitting, like Thorne is saying, is the transit really hitting your chart in some specific way? So what do you think about the Mars in Cancer being square it? Oh yeah, that would add some tension for sure. Because already there's the sun and the moon having some tension. But the Mars in Cancer is square that, and it's really a challenge where it's kind of we're having to figure out how to tweak things. And plus Cancer is water. So, we have the sun in Aries which is fire, and then the moon in Libra, which is air. And, the fire and air, and then we have this water Mars in Cancer, so it could be some kind of feeling related to the home or relationship security. How do I feel comfortable with this? Who do I feel comfortable with? How do I, approach this, kind of thing? So how do I be brave? Things like that. So that's my thoughts. Interesting. So I would say Mars in Cancer is very protective of home, family, children, my stuff, my emotions, yeah, community. So maybe in that dance of, me versus other or relationships, there's a kind of protective stance of, protect myself in that process or protect my family, protect my finances, protect my stuff, whatever it is. So that it's yeah, there's it's a Marshall T square. So I don't know if this is going to be a very calm full moon. I mean, I feel, it could be very challenging. From what I'm seeing around me, like people are kind of fighting right now. There's a lot of like tensions that are surfacing. And so I think we have to be honest and say this is might be a tough, full moon for martial things, which are arguments or negotiations or, but take the time to have the negotiations you need to have that you need bravery to have, during the full moon, you know. Yeah, for sure. That bravery is there. I really support that. Plus, at the same time, it's important to remember that with Mars and Cancer, that sensitivity of, of feeling prickly, of, wanting to, you know, kind of be kind of prickly, but you have to stop and breathe and say, okay, why am I feeling this way? How am I feeling sensitive with this? Is it worth it to, spill over, or can I make space for myself for this, spill out? And then can I, negotiate further, things like that. So, I think that's part of the challenge for this full moon. Yeah, with that T square. Yeah. Yeah, interesting. I think when you're in a Mars transit or a martial moment, there is that philosophical dance of how do I walk this tightrope of I'm angry or aggravated. I don't want to lash out, but I don't want to repress it. So it's like walking a tightrope of like express here, hold here, express, That's why sometimes I call in a team meeting or get other charts involved. If it's really hitting your chart in a hard way, then get a friend to check you or, in computer programming, they do something called, well, not to be not to swear, but they like bitch check each other's emails like that, like you'll write an email and then someone like checks it and be like, oh, that's okay, you can go ahead and send. So maybe you want someone to check your stuff to say like, is it too much or is it too mean, or and also with that, I would add that, make sure to call your or contact your own therapist. You know what I mean? That's another option, Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because Mars in Cancer tends to have that security mind, if, wants to feel safe of who do I feel safe with? And, yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. Like, I think there's different, like often you can have two different charts and they feel protective at the same time, but they're protecting different things or different concepts or different parts of their life. So it's like they can protect themselves and then fight about that with each other. It's like, but I think good astrologers don't look down on fighting. We honor that the fight is part of the dance of life. It's like we don't say like suppress that Mars. Like there's like a temperance theory where you say suppress it, suppress it. But I think expressionist astrologers would say express the Mars, use the Mars, but try to fight nice or fight fair or not be too, like unfair in your fight. I would also add with that, of where for me, because of my background, I grew up in an environment where fighting was, I don't feel it didn't feel safe for me. But now, as I'm older, and I've done a lot of internal work, and letting go from that story, you know, I I'm more of a place where I'm okay and I can recognize where the fight is, and where it can be beneficial and it can be helpful to bring different perspectives. At the same time, where and how can the fight be honorable? How can it be respectful? um Not to harm, or you're not trying to harm each other, but how can we continue that value of respect during the actual fight you know so yeah, well, it's like, and consent to engage is a thing. Like with like martial artists, they both consent to fight. They go in a ring together, and it's like go, and then go ahead and have the discussion. But in this leadership book I read, it was saying that good leaders, good managers, let people have a good fight once in a while because people are more productive and creative when fighting. It's like if you're just like, oh, you're like, milk toast, like, oh, then you don't get anything done. But if you're like, oh, you're going at it, that you can be, very productive and, get a lot done. So I think consent to engage might be a thing. It's one thing when one person knows the astrology and watches it and the other person denies it or doesn't accept it, then it's not really like this fair container for Mars action, because one person's saying it's time to Mars now. Let's go ahead and have the debate. And the other person's like, you're awful, and it's like, I like when two astrologers get together and they say, it's time to Mars now. Like, let's discuss it now, and I think that's a beautiful thing. I agree with it, that it can be a beautiful thing, especially if, there's a agreement there. And if the goal is clear with what, can we agree with the goal? Okay, how to make this space, this container, um, for that fight, to, arrive at that goal. I do agree with it. And I think it's interesting because Mars has been in Cancer for a long time, like many, many months. And so this is kind of the end game of Mars and Cancer, of like the sun and moon hitting it. It's like the last vestige of that Mars and Cancer. So it's like kind of get it now, of like take advantage of protecting whatever you need to protect. Um, And if you're making something like Mars and Cancer is very crafty. It's not all bad. It's like, yeah, it's tactile. So if you're crocheting something or if you're making something or beading, go ahead and just make and make and make during the full moon. One way to kind of get your anger out is to transmute it to creative, doing something. So that's cool. Yeah. And also I would add to that where if that feeling of anger or that kind of aggravation feeling, if it feels weird, maybe you that like Andy's saying, you could craft something, even if it doesn't feel right, maybe you could cook, maybe you could bake or something with food because that's also Cancer loves food, so sharing the food or sharing it with friends or if someone's sick, make them some food and share it, so your body will feel much better if you do that kind of thing. You can move through that weird feeling of energy. Yeah, what I think of Mars and Cancer, I think of knife skills in the kitchen where you're like it's like you're um cutting stuff really intensely. Yeah, I've been watching cooking competitions on the Mega app on streaming, and I've been watching those. And some of their chefs, oh my goodness, their knife skills are just wow. I'm just like, how can they do that? It's just like they barely slice them without cutting themselves. I'm like, oh my goodness, wow, so good for them. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's Mars and Cancer. I know that because when I have birth Mars and Cancer, and when I had a transit to it once. I learned knife skills. And I was, because it's this front muscle right here and also the pincher right here. So it's like pinch and cut is very this Mars and Cancer muscle. So it's really interesting. But you're right, cooking something, if you're not a crafter, you can cook or, take care of something, garden, like move that energy through. Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to when Mars transits in Leo. That's my birth Mars. Yeah, do you want to discuss that a little bit? What can we expect for Mars and Leo that's, new and different? Well, since I have Saturn and Mars and Leo in the first house for me, that's very you know, expressive for me. So I have a lot of tattoos in this area, So that's really fits with that Mars and Leo because I'm just right here. I get aggravated right there and I can feel it moving that energy through. It's a physical Mars for me. So anyways, the point is that Mars transiting into Leo, it could be related to, it's Leo, it's controlled by the sun. So, it's about how to shine, how to be your own self, how to be your whole self. And so Mars in Leo, transiting through there could be related to how to be more brave in that way, how to not perform, but how to be more authentic, and honest, and say, this is my truth. This is where I want to shine and own, like ownership of that. Yeah, ownership is, yeah, that's the word I was looking for. So, yeah, so interesting. That's part of it. Plus, Leo is loves to play. It loves to have that joy feeling of, that, you know, you looking where it's possible with the Mars and Leo to, it could be more like a spotlight with theater or some type of performance art or whatever. It could pop up more with that. So yeah, I'm just putting it out there. Yeah, what do you think, Andy? Well, Mars did eke into Leo for a short time and I watched it. So I saw a little bit of, what it was like. Um, it's interesting because like you're saying, it's kind of performative, it's like doing a performance of life, or being like shining or like fighting to shine a little bit, so it was funny when it went in there, I started wearing wigs. I was like wearing wigs and I was like doing cosplay and I was like shopping for costumes and oh that's right, that's right. So I think it's really a good time to take action on your own wardrobe, or your look or your identity or who you are or, perform a little bit, it depends on what house it is in your chart, right? So you have to say like, what am I performing and where, if it's like, Thorne, it's in their first house. So it's you know, like they are performing them. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, it will be right there. Yeah. Yeah. If it's in your third house, maybe you read some self-help books and like go in your local neighborhood shopping for costumes or, whatever, you have to really look at the house and analyze that and kind of plan for it. I mean, I think the days of being like, what will happen to me on this transit? That kind of astrologer, it's kind of like the new generation is saying, what will I do with this energy on this transit? So like what's your plan for that Mars and Leo? And I think planning to shine, planning to dress yourself up, you know, um, you could go tailor your wardrobe. You could get a tailor and like really, do all the work to really get your wardrobe really, dialed in. Or you could brand your background and sometimes we've been having fun at the Moira Press on doing branding sessions where we take the chart and the colors of the chart and then we like find images and we brand to the chart. I mean, that's a Leo thing to do. So but you're right, it's fun. It's more fun, than, that's on my list. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like it's not just about fun, it's also about joy, of what feeds that joy. What lights you up, you know. Yeah, because is ruled by the sun, so the sun naturally wants to be bright. Yeah, and if we analyze it from a physical perspective, which I like to do when making predictions, we would say that Mars in Cancer is now heating up the waters of the chest. So it's more like it's like kind of yeah, it's like kind of aggravated in that way. It's like where it's like, I feel so much. But when Mars moves into Leo, it's going to move down to the heart muscle and the flank muscles and the biceps, so it's like now we're doing bicep curls and push-ups and, we're on our boat, like driving around or, it's like, like driving. It's just a different muscle. It's a different vibe, so it's more physical than emotional. And plus, not only with the heart and the flanks, muscles, but also the spine too, because Leo also connected to the spine. So maybe it's something about the back massage, to straighten your spine. You can realign the spine, or it could be something, so you feel more comfortable with your posture, things like that. Oh, interesting. Yeah. It's like stand tall and be yourself. Mars is in Leo now, Yeah. So yeah, I think it's time with this full moon to really get that emotional part done and then move to more of the like, I'm gonna be myself, I'm gonna stand tall and do me, like when Mars is in Leo. So yeah, and also not only about that, but the stand tall and be myself thing, but also about how can I authentically or honestly um own that, or honor that part of me. How can I honor that part of you? How can we celebrate it? Yeah. So, okay. So I think that was good. Okay. Do you have other things on your list you want to discuss? I think I'm good with that. I'm open to what you want to do. Go with the flow. Okay, then I want to discuss Pluto in Aquarius because Mars in Leo will oppose Pluto and Aquarius. And that's coming soon. Let me look. So that will happen like April 9th, like 18th through the 27th, you know? Interesting. Okay. So what do you think of Pluto and Aquarius, first of all? Like that's opposite Leo. So what's that look like? Well, since we have that Leo Aquarius opposition, the Aquarius is related to groups. and the groupthink and, collective action. Um, and that's Aquarius, and also technology and science and philosophy and theory and all of that stuff. The science development, networking, things like that, that's Aquarius. So with Pluto there, it's all about transformation, alchemy, how to transform something there. And also revolution, because, in the future, how can we think about the future with our changing, for the future, for a better, developing something better? That's Pluto. So I think with this opposition of Mars and Leo with Pluto in Aquarius, I could look at that and say where Pluto in Aquarius could maybe open up, you know, where there's some chaos that's happening, you know, but it's in the collective way of how that chaos is happening. And also, I remember that Mars is also about the, war, and conflict. So, it could be some type of revolution or some kind of conflict about finding a balance in that opposition. Okay. And one vision that comes to mind is how to show that is, the group, you know, revolution or opposition, and then the 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 clowns coming in with the humor and, using humor in a way to rebel. Yeah. Do you know what it means? Heyoka clown, clown? Yes, yes, yeah. I know what that is. I'm very familiar with that. Yeah. That is a kind of humor that's supposed to show how to subvert, different ways in a new way to be being. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, because it's like okay, so I'll just add to that and just say my piece. So yeah, Pluto and Aquarius, you're right. It's about transformation in the group. And I think what we're seeing now is with people meeting on Zoom, on the internet, they're using, Facebook and YouTube in collective ways. They're Zooming in, collective ways. The ability to meet up with groups has really improved or increased a lot because of Zoom. And I remember when Pluto was still in Capricorn, there was this what's the structure of our meeting? Are we in person? Are we on Zoom? And a little like this structure. What's the structure? What's the structure? And then Pluto moved into Aquarius and people just started meeting and meeting, meeting, and meeting. And they stopped really wondering how they just did it. So yeah, just do it. Yeah. So I think a lot of the transformations happening on theory and global thinking, collectivist ideas. Um, but it's because people are getting together in groups more often than before. I mean, we see it all over groups, 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 groups. So I do think that, Aquarius is what's good for the collective. Like, it's not about me, it's about the group, right? So it's like you're more neutral in the group. You don't talk a lot, you just think and listen. And then Mars and Leo says, look at me, though. Look at me. So, like, if you wear a wig, to your group and you're just like shining, got your wig on, it's all red or orange or something, then it's like the clown in the group is like standing out, it's like so it I think there will be a wave of people taking up space in groups by showing themselves with costumes or fun or, being playful, like you're saying, but they're doing that to push an agenda that's Leo, Mars and Leo. It's like they're pushing out their own personal ideology in that group. You know what I mean? So it's like it's a fight. I mean, Mars Pluto is a fight. Right. Plus, it's not only that it's a fight, but also it's about pushing. that vibe up and how to push for the higher good of the group. Interesting. Um, yeah, I think that's a great use of that energy is to push out yourself for the good of all concerned. It's like if you're invisible and the group can't see you, then you can't make waves in the group, right? But all of us should be taking up space with the Mars and Leo, not just one person, right? It's like all of us step up. It's like leveling up, by we all take up more space in the group, show more of ourselves, you know. Yeah, and not only that, but also Pluto is a generational planet. So it's about what does this generation need? How does that Aquarius energy want to impact this, generation? So it will be fascinating to see how that energy pops up and shifts. Yeah, and we have to think of like the transit. Like, so people who have planets in Leo will get activated with the Mars and Leo. Ooh, ooh. Yeah. So, but if you have a planet, anyone watching has a planet around 3 degrees, what's this Mars Pluto hitting for you? That, you know, individuality versus group, do I stand out or blend in or which do I do? Where's that hitting your birth chart? Like for me, I'll use a personal example, not because I'm a narcissist, but because it helps to go kind of more concrete. Like they will be squaring my Mercury in Scorpio, right? Because I have Mercury at 2 Scorpio, right? So it's like, that's, me being a commentator or, like I'm making commentary on things, but maybe, it'll hit me where I'll be having really intense discussions about things. And I'm like, do I take up space and talk about myself or do I just discuss theory or like, what do I do here? If there's really intense discussion, how much do I discuss myself? How much do I discuss the group? Or, so it'll be that dance for me of, I know there'll be an intense discussion because it's squaring my Mercury in Scorpio, but how do I dance that dance of self versus collective? And that's the question there. And also, I wouldn't be surprised if it's coming to a place for you with that Mercury and Scorpio of where not only the commentator, but also, doing something because Mercury likes to actually write or it likes to jot things down. It likes to make something or print something. So I wouldn't be surprised if you start some type of project. Oh, interesting. Don't make me write a book, Thorne. No, a collaboration, wink, wink. Ah. Did you get your gender and astrology article submitted? Not yet, no, no. But I will probably be writing that article soon. Yeah. Yeah. The OPA, the Organization of Professional Astrologers, OPA, yeah, they put out a call for articles on gender and astrology, right? And, that's a perfect fit for Thorne. Darn it. Yeah. But perfect fit for you too. Well, I already submitted my article. Fantastic. Well, that means you're kicking my ass on that. I gotta follow you. Yeah, yeah. I had some help. I had some help. Um, yeah. Okay. So anything else about the Mars Pluto? I do think, I want to be honest because we're doing a forecast. Let's not be the Pollyanna forecast. Mars, Pluto together is tough. Yeah, that answer is like, that is tough. That is tough. That is like tough AF. Yeah, yeah. That's like getting a full back tattoo or even a full leg tattoo or something. Oh, yeah, because it's Aquarius. It's just like, so that week of that energy, watch the politics. Oh, for sure, Thorne saying it's going to be interesting to see what happens in politics. Um, and watch your friends and your groups that you're involved in. Watch if any tension arises and just, one thing about astrology that helps is, we're learning about enlightenment theory right now, and they say, that's where you find the light inside. Enlightenment is like, I have a light inside, right? Well, they say to watch, oh, enlightenment. Okay. They say to watch life like a movie. Like in a movie, there's like scary scenes and there's like good scenes, and you're supposed to just watch it like a movie and just be like, oh, and then something scary happened. Oh, like, and some people critique that and say it's a little bit too detached or whatever. But if you want to watch this transit with a kind of enlightenment framework, you can watch it like a movie and be like, oh, and then people started fighting. Oh, it's like you don't have to take personally that energy that's going to be really intense. That's true. And just to add with that, it's not only the watching of the people, but also allowing myself to observe where it's that vibe, where how it pops up, and then you can look at yourself and say, oh, how do I want to connect with this? Or how do because I don't want to connect with this. You know, it gives us that opportunity to definitively say, because Mars is also um about autonomy, of just how do I give myself that permission to just have that self power and make that choice. That's autonomy. So yeah, kind of being assertive. Yeah. Okay, interesting. It's gonna be a weird month. I mean, yeah, it's a weird month. Yeah, because the full moon is square Mars, and then the Mars opposes Pluto, and it's like it's just that's I'm not we're not trying to scare people, but we're technical mathematicians. I mean, yeah, right, right, yeah. So, and honestly, I am looking forward to when Jupiter goes into Cancer in June. Yeah. June, I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be nice. It's going to be like, Jupiter in Cancer. Yes. So, do you want to discuss Jupiter in Gemini and what's that been like? And what do you think will happen when Jupiter goes into Cancer? Sure. If you want to start off with that, I can follow suit. Okay, well, Jupiter and Gemini has been a lot of talking. What happened to us at the Moira Press is people like, the throat chakra of all people is spinning, with Jupiter. They say it's like a second sun. It's like a big ball. It's like, So people are like talking, 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 like talk shows, YouTube, talking, talking, reading books, discussing books. It's just a lot of talkative air energy, presenting ideas, discussing those ideas, book clubs, so it's been fun, I think. Jupiter and Gemini has been very light and, mental and not that emotional. We've had other emotional planets, of course, but this one is not really that emotional. It's more like cerebral. When, Jupiter goes into Cancer in June, it's going to move down to the water of the chest, and it's like Mars in Cancer, but it's more um happy and positive and less protective and kind of aggravated. It's just like, oh, my baby, my, food I'm making. Oh, it's like it's very sweet. Yeah, it's very sweet. Yeah, and so I think the Mars in Cancer was like a foreshadowing of what we're going to see with Jupiter in Cancer, a little bit of, a lot of crafting. For me, it's crocheting and beading. Oh, so I think for 1 year, there's going to be a lot of crafting, cooking, homemaking, gardening, just, sewing, it's all the home stuff, it's a good time to make your home beautiful and feel more sweet and like have sentimental objects and like, things like that. So if you want to take up like a plate collection or something, you can start that. So what do you think? Well, first with Jupiter and Gemini, all this time, yes, been a lot of discussion. I agree with that. Just a lot of, communication, conversations, going back and forth. I agree with that for sure. At the same time, what's the word I'm looking for? The challenge of Jupiter in Gemini is a lot of fake news, a lot of like tricking, people with mistaken information, a lot of distraction, um, from what's really there and what's really happening and what's, is kind of what's being discussed. So, it's a lot of errors in, messages that are sent or what is the right person? No, it was sent to the wrong person, that kind of stuff. Because Jupiter, the vibe with Jupiter is that it wants to expand. So that means with Gemini, it is air and everything with the brain and everything with the Mercury because Mercury controls Gemini. And so it's everything with that, network and communication and technology. And some things are, kind of messed up and some things are good. So that type of Jupiter and Gemini thing. So when it goes into Cancer, um, the reason why I'm laughing, when you're telling your story, because all of that Jupiter and Cancer stuff is because my natal Jupiter is in Cancer. And so it's like my 12th house. So I'm like, oh, okay, I'm putting that in notes of that's gonna be very, very internal thing for me this summer. Oh, that's funny. Um, so we'll have to see how that expresses. But anyway, the point is that Jupiter in Cancer, it's like you were saying, all of the home things, all of the crafting things. But also it's not just about that, it's the community. It feels like be fascinating to see about the community, um, the emotional security, who are my people, who are the safe space, who is the safe space, or where do I want to show up? And how do I want to, serve? Because Cancer wants to interact and provide and that kind of thing. So I'm just curious to see how that shows up. Yeah. So, for people watching, analyze that Cancer house because Mars has been going through that house for a long time. So you've been seeing that, that energy of what that house looks like. And you can then plan for Jupiter and Cancer and say, what do I want to do with this energy? Because you'll have 1 year to kind of, take advantage of whatever you want to build or do or, make available to your life and self. I think some fun things about Cancer are beverages, like you can get really into like many different like coffee, like alternatives like Pero and chicory, and you can drink like nettles and oat straw tea and kombucha. Oh yeah, kombucha. You can have your mineral waters. You can like make up drinks. You could do mocktails. Like you could really get into like food and beverage is fun for Cancer for sure. You know, and it's interesting because Jupiter in Cancer, when that starts in June on June 9th, that day, it's right after my birthday. Oh, interesting. Yeah. So I'm curious what that'll be. So you think that Jupiter and Cancer is a good time for becoming like a foodie, like taking a year of like touching different restaurants, like or like that, sorry, that's a sign. It means trying out different restaurants. Um yeah, because June, it's like that's the high peak of summer. So it's an opportunity to, go to the farmer's market or go to a farm, or go to several different things you could try out, places to try out. You could be like fall in love with the grocery store, farm to table. Yeah, you could fall in love with the grocery store for 1 year. You could go to different grocery stores or even co-ops. Oh yeah, co-op. You know, or a CSA, a community supported agriculture. Oh yeah, yeah, those are fun. Yeah, or something like that. Or like cooking what you grow in the garden. Yeah, seasonal, yeah. I remember 1 year I read that book, The Joy of Cooking. I like read the whole thing. So it'd be cool to like really get into cooking or food or something like that. For sure. And also don't forget that Cancer is not only about food, but it's not only about family, but it's also about community. Like you have to understand the point is that it applies to everything because it is connected with the chosen family where you work, your community there, or, a diversity of things. So, it'd be a year of falling in love with the community in different ways. Yeah, okay. But it's interesting. I'm reading this book. Finding your people, building deep community in a lonely world. So it's about finding your people. And she's saying that you should have rings. Like the first ring is 2 to 5 people who are your people, of who know the state of your heart. So the people who are like, and she's saying 2 to 5, it's like a limit of 5. I mean, some people, like I have more than 5, but, but I think Cancer might focus on that layer because then you go into the village and then acquaintances, like, but like I think you can focus on that inner layer of your 2 to 5 people that they know your heart, what's happening with your heart. The heart people. Yeah, the heart people. You gotta focus on the heart people. Yes, heart people. Yeah. What degree are your planets in Cancer? Oh, I don't have my chart with me right now, but I know that you have my chart memorized. I think it's like 21 degrees, or a little bit later. It's like around there. It's like I think it's like 16 to 21 or something. Yeah. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Yeah, my Jupiter's early in Cancer. It's at 6 Cancer, so I'll be having my Jupiter return. Wow. Well, what do you want to talk about? How the Jupiter return? What do you want that to look like? Well, what I want from that, my plan for that is I'll be at Norwalk in May, at the end of May. So I'll be meeting all these people. And what I hope to happen, or I'm manifesting to happen, is that I can get to them to make their chart beads. So when I come home after Norwalk, I'll be making all these chart beads. That's brilliant, That's brilliant. Because my Jupiter is square Venus in Libra. That's a lot of making, a lot of love, a lot of commissions is like Venus and Libra. It's like one-on-one, like what's your chart? What's your chart? It's like making art for one person. So, I think that will be making a lot of beads if I could predict what I want. Yeah, you should have a bead shop. I do have a bead shop. That's Andy has a bead shop, so check it out. Well, I just sent in for brochures. They're arriving any day now. So I have my beads on there. But beads are just one of things I do. Like I do readings, teaching, YouTube, and then beads happen around. They're like, it's a cute little part of the Moira Press, but it's part of it, you know. It's awesome. It's an awesome part. I can vouch for it because you have Cancer, so you love the tiny little beads. Yes, I love all of that stuff, the sparkly cool things. Yeah, yeah. So, well, I think this is a good time to end because we got through all of the things. Is there anything else you want to discuss? We have 3 minutes. I think I'm good. Yeah, I think we really tackled a lot in that one episode. So, yeah, we did. We did tackle a lot. All right. Well, I love you, Thorne, and thank you for discussing this. You too. I love you. I'll look forward to next Friday. All right. All right. See you. Bye.